Hello, everyone. I hope you're all doing well and ready for another social studies lesson. We are already on chapter 10. So we just finished chapter 9 and we're moving on to a new chapter. And that's crazy because we only have about 2 chapters left in the book. So maybe we'll be able to finish. Who knows? But great job, guys. I'm so proud of all the hard work you guys are doing. I know it's not easy to be away from school, and you guys are really doing amazing in this new normal that we're living. So I'm so proud of you all, and I miss you all so much. I can't believe it's May already. So just another month of school. Keep up your hard work, and can't wait to see you guys as soon as we possibly can. Okay, so we are moving on to chapter 10, like I said. Last chapter we talked a lot about culture in our own country, and today we're going to be talking about culture in other countries and how other countries share their cultures. And I want you guys to think about how, as we read, I want you to think and look for any similarities that we might have to other cultures around the world, or maybe your family's culture celebrates something similar to what we're reading. So let me know what you guys think, and let me know if there's any similarities between the two, okay? So if you have your book, open to page 348, and we will get started reading. I miss calling on you guys to read. I hope it's not too much with me reading all the time. But I hope you guys are doing well, like I said. So let's get started. The world has many different cultures. Sometimes different groups express or share their cultures in some of the same ways. Written and oral traditions. People can share their culture through literature. Literature includes stories and poems that people use to share their ideas. A myth is a story made up to explain the world around us. Children in West Africa hear myths about how Anazi the spider created the sun, moon, and stars. Okay. So a myth is something that's made up, but a lot of times there's some reflection of how the myth is versus how life is. So in this case, children in West Africa hear myths about how this spider created the moon, the stars, the sun, and things like that. So obviously the spider did not create the moon, the stars, and the sun, but the myth is kind of used to share how things work and maybe gives like kids a better idea of how something works and how things are. A fable is a story in which animals speak and act like humans. People enjoy fables that were told by Aesop, a Greek storyteller. So you might have heard some famous fables by Aesop before. You might even know some fables like The Tortoise and the Hare, The Lion and the Mouse. If you guys remember in our Reading Street book this year, we read a fable. Does anyone remember the name of it? There's animals as the main characters, and there's normally a moral of a story in the fable. So if we think back to Tortoise and the Hare, what was the moral of that fable? If you remember, the tortoise is like the turtle and the hare is the bunny. So what was the moral? What did those characters learn? So they learned that slow and steady wins the race. That was the moral of the story. So a lot of times fables have animals that are the main characters, but there's also like a human moral. There's something that we can all learn from the fables. Over to page 349. Folktales help keep traditions of a culture alive. A folktale is a story passed from one generation to the next. A favorite Japanese folktale is about a man named Urashima Taro. While fishing, Taro rescues a turtle. He is rewarded with a visit to the Dragon Palace. Many people share legends from their culture. A legend is a made-up story about a real person or event. One legend is based on John Chapman. He planted apple trees in the United States. He was given the nickname Johnny Appleseed. Another legend you might have heard of is Paul Bunyan, the lumberjack. And a lot of times legends are kind of stretched truths. So obviously, like they said, it's about a real person or event, but they might give details about that person that weren't necessarily true. Like for Paul Bunyan, they said he's about 7 feet tall. He's not actually 7 feet tall. He's probably a tall guy, but they kind of stretched the truth a little bit to make it seem larger than life. And so those are all examples of literature and how those are spread and shared with cultures. So these are stories that we have heard about as young kids, right? Our parents heard about, our grandparents heard about, and they're kind of passed along through generation and generation. And that's what makes it a part of culture, is it's not a new story that just popped up in 2005. It's a story that's been around for years and years and years, and that's why we all know it, and our families all know it, and things like that. Go on to page 350. So we obviously read about how reading and books and stories can be shared in cultures, but how else can the arts and things be shared in culture? So let's go ahead and read the arts. Storytelling is just one way people express their culture. Artists, musicians, dancers, and builders also use their talents to express their cultures. Art and music. Artists draw, paint, and sculpt artworks. Diego Rivera expressed his Mexican culture with colorful murals. A mural is a large painting on a wall. So I wonder if you guys have ever seen any of those before. Maybe in the city there's big murals, big artworks on the walls. Musicians use sound to create music, another part of culture. In many African cultures, drums provide the beat for music. The kalangu, or talking drum, comes from Nigeria. Its sounds can be high or low, like a human voice. Folk songs express the culture of a group of people. In Eastern Europe, people play folk songs with accordions and other instruments. So, I'm trying to think of different ways that I've seen music expressed in culture. I've seen mariachi bands for the Mexican culture. I've seen bagpipe players for the Irish culture, and that's just two examples of many examples how music can be shared within cultures. So we, celebrate many different holidays, and a lot of times for those holidays there's music that come along with it, and that music comes from cultures around the world. Page 351, dance. Dancers express culture through traditional clothes, music, and movement. In West Africa, people perform a welcome dance called the Yabara. This dance is named after the beaded rattles that the dancers carry. The rattles are thrown in the air and caught in rhythm. Sorry, you guys, my throat's kind of tickly if I sound a little funny. So dance is just another way that people can express their culture. I know some people that we know from our school, and I know someone in our grade does Irish dance. And so that's just one way that people can express their Irish culture, right, is through Irish dance. Another way people might do it is through, like they listed on 51, the West African dance. So they do a welcome dance for the people that might be coming to their community. And there's many different other kinds of dance. Let me know if you guys know of any different kinds that are specific to a culture. So those dances are learned over time, and people still do them today, based on their culture. Architecture. Architecture is the art of designing buildings. The ancient city of Tikal in Guatemala was a center of culture for the Maya. The large step pyramids they built there stand today. The pyramids show the power and skill of the ancient Maya. So even how buildings are made and how homes are represents culture. So if you go to somewhere, for example, in South America, their homes might look different than our homes here because that architecture is specific to their culture and their way of life down there. And if you go anywhere in the world for that matter, their homes and their buildings and their schools might look different than ours because all of our cultures are different, and that's kind of what makes, like we've been reading here, all of those things are so different, but they kind of represent the cultures and the people's lives and things like that, and really celebrate all of our differences in a really cool and unique way. Go on to 352, religions. Religious traditions are also an important part of culture. In the United States, people have the right to choose which religion, if any, they will follow. Some choose to follow the teachings of Christianity or Judaism. Others follow the teachings of Islam, Hinduism, or Buddhism. Places of worship. Communities have special places where people can worship or pray together. Christians worship in churches. Followers of Islam pray in a mosque or masjid. Jewish worshippers meet in a synagogue or temple. Buddhists and Hindus visit temples to meditate. People gather at places of worship to share religious traditions. There they meet with other people who share the same beliefs. Some offer programs that help the community. Some places of worship also have schools, kind of like us in our Catholic school. These schools teach students about the religion and its beliefs and values. They may also teach regular school subjects, and that's exactly what we experience every day. We go to a Catholic school, which teaches us about the Catholic Church and the Catholic faith, and we also have all the other subjects like math, science, social studies, reading, things like that. Okay, so religions are a big part of culture because we learn things in our specific religion that are different from other religions, and that's what makes our religions so unique and so special to us specifically. Summary. People around the world express their culture. They tell stories and create art. Some people express their culture through religious traditions. So guys, we just read about many different ways that people share their culture. So before we just talked about food and holidays and things like that, but now we know plethora of different ways that people can share their culture, which we probably knew about before, but it's interesting to read about it and learn about how other people around the world celebrate their specific culture and their traditions and their family, right? And that's super cool to us. Okay, so you guys have more questions on Flipgrid to answer this week. Great job on your questions last week. I'm so proud of you guys, like I said, and I can't wait to see your responses from this week. Thanks, guys.